Watch how this explosive showdown in the Commons turns into a defining political moment as pressure mounts and tempers flare. What happens when trust is questioned at the highest level of power? When words spoken at the dispatch box are challenged in front of the entire nation? This isn't just another debate, it's a battle over integrity, accountability and the truth. Emotions are running high, and for many watching, it feels like the system itself is being tested. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free and it helps us keep bringing you the hard-hitting stories that matter. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the motion standing in my name on the order paper. Mr. Speaker, shall we pick up where we left off last Tuesday when we had an emergency debate about the government's accountability to Parliament over Peter Mandelson's appointment as our ambassador to the United States. The very next day, at Prime Minister's questions, the Prime Minister read out selective quotes from Sir Ollie Robbins' evidence to the Foreign Affairs Select Committee and deliberately left out critical sections to make it seem as if Sir Ollie Robbins' evidence had exonerated him. The Prime Minister told the House, and I quote, "No pressure existed whatsoever in relation to this case." That is not what the record shows. Let me read Sir Ollie Robbins' exact quote. "Throughout January, my office and the Foreign Secretary's office were under constant pressure. There was an atmosphere of constant chasing." So how can the Prime Minister tell us that Sir Ollie Robbins said no pressure existed whatsoever? Everybody heard what Ollie Robbins said. We are not here to test whether members have good hearing. People can go and look in Hansard. The question today, as the Speaker said, is whether this should go to the Privileges Committee, whether this House and Labour MPs really believe in full due process, whether Labour MPs have the integrity to refer the Prime Minister to the Privileges Committee, knowing what we all know and can all read in Hansard. The Ministerial Code is very clear. Ministers who mislead the House must correct the record, and I quote, "at the earliest opportunity." It is very obvious that the Prime Minister, what the Prime Minister said at the dispatch box was not correct. It's clear that full due process was not followed. If Labour MPs allow the whips to force them to block the consequences of these decisions, it will degrade not just them, but this House. The question is, what kind of people are they? Are they people who will live up to the promises they made about standards and the rules mattering, or are they people who abandon their promises to be complicit in a cover-up? Yes, I will give way.
To the right honourable lady, on the 4th of February we passed our humble address here in this House with a unanimous vote of, a unanimous opinion of the whole House that all of the documents should be made available and published. And those that wait for the question. And those that were considered sensitive should go to the Intelligence and Security Committee. Her party accepted that amendment on the 4th of February. If she wasn't going to wait for the outcome of that, why is she moving this process today?
Yes, I think that is an excellent question. We asked for the release of documents, and then when the evidence came showing what the Cabinet Secretary had said in November 24 about what full due process was, it was very clear that those instructions had not been followed. We also know that this latest information about the problems with the security vetting did not come from the humble address, it came from a leak to The Guardian. So why should we wait for a never-never process that is clearly not happening? Even members of the Intelligence and Security Committee in that SA24 debate last week said that there were delays to the release of the documents. So, Mr. Speaker, members opposite want to pretend that this is something that only one party is doing. Can I remind them that this is a cross-party motion supported by independents, the Lib Dems, the DUP, the SNP, members from across this House. Calling this a stunt is disrespecting this House and disrespecting the Speaker. It's very obvious, listening to the media and their tweets, it's very obvious they've all been told to come here today, tell everybody it's a stunt, tell everybody it's a stunt. Why are they acting like sheep? Why are they acting like sheep? They should be better than that. We will be counting, by the way. Some people might even be shouting bingo at how many times people stand up and say that this is a stunt in this debate. We're looking forward to it. Mr. Speaker, there is a... Yes, I will give way.
I'm grateful to my right honourable friend. I think she's being a little too harsh to the limited number of Labour MPs opposite. I mean, here we have the entire reputation of the Prime Minister of this country, the leader of their party, and they're not turning out for him because they know that he is now a laughingstock, and having called round them, they found out they had to put a 3-line whip to get them to protect his blushes. So, can my honourable friend be a little bit kinder to the members opposite, especially the brave ones, who are actually prepared to come out and defend the indefensible?
I thank my right honourable friend for that intervention. I will do my best to be kind, because he is right. There are more people here today than there were last time, so the whips have really been working hard in the last 7 days. Last week, not a single Labour MP bothered to intervene. Now, we've got a second one. I'm going to take an intervention from the right honourable gentleman, and then I'll come to the Labour MP.
Very grateful to the Leader of the Opposition. She's right to highlight the cross-party nature of this motion and also question the applicability of a whip in refusing a motion before the House. Does she not agree, and should Labour MPs not consider that if there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to fear?
The honourable gentleman makes an excellent point. I completely agree with him, and in fact I will be making that case in due course, but I will give way to the honourable gentleman.
Well, I thank her for giving way, and a moment ago, she talked about selective quoting, and I'm sure that she would not want to selectively quote Sir Ollie Robbins herself. So could she tell us what the rest of that quote was? When he talked about pressure, was he talking about pressure to deliver a decision in time for President Trump's inauguration, or was he saying that he felt pressure to materially change what that decision would be? Because that is quite an important distinction, is it not?
It is quite important, and if it was, why didn't the Prime Minister say so last week? Why didn't he say no pressure whatsoever? He should go and read the Hansard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes, I will give way on that point.
Well, friend, for giving way on that point. Are we really suggesting in this debate in this chamber that anyone who does not fully, comprehensively, without any hesitation, pass vetting, should be given the most important role in our ambassadorship? The opposition seem to be suggesting that someone who is borderline, that there are any red flags, should be put in this sort of role. Is that not absolutely extraordinary?
It is extraordinary, and the evidence which we've heard from the Foreign Affairs Select Committee this morning is only making this matter worse for the Prime Minister. So it is very wrong for them to be talking about a stunt. This is about the integrity of this House. Why is the Privileges Committee only a political stunt when Labour is in the dock? Do they still believe that honesty and accountability matter when it is one of their own? Do they believe that Labour Prime Ministers should be held to the exact same standards that they held Conservative Prime Ministers to? Or do they believe that there should be an honesty discount because the Prime Minister is Labour? The fact that there are so few Cabinet Ministers sitting on the front bench, they've had to dig deep to the bottom of the barrel for junior ministers to come and sit there, I think shows that they're struggling to get support for this. But let me tell Labour, I'm going to make some progress, Mr. Speaker. Let me, I would say very gently, in fact kindly, I would say kindly to Labour MPs, as I've been asked to, that if they vote against this motion today, they are admitting that Labour has lower standards and should be held to a lower standard than everyone else. Because when they were elected, they promised their constituents integrity and higher standards, and I'm sure for most of them at the time they meant it. This country is the mother of all parliaments. This vote today is about Parliament. It's not about the Labour Party. It is about the Prime Minister being held to account. To those people saying this is a stunt, this is about whether the Prime Minister is accountable, not just to the opposition, but to them and their own constituents. Members opposite may believe that the Prime Minister is telling the truth. As the Speaker said, they are not being asked whether the Prime Minister is telling the truth. They are being asked whether the committee should investigate whether the Prime Minister told the truth. That is a different thing. The question is whether there is a case to answer that he misled this House and has failed to correct the record. Yes, I will give way.
Can I thank the right honourable member for giving way? The British public are already fed up with politicians. We see that in general elections, the low turnout rate. What we have here is a prime example of why the British public has lost confidence. We are trying to shield and hide from the public the truth. Does the right honourable member agree that in order to restore that trust, this Prime Minister must be put in front of a committee?
I do agree that this is a matter of trust with the public. We have to show that we do things properly here. As I was saying, Mr. Speaker, the question is whether there is a case to answer that the Prime Minister misled this House and has failed to correct the record. If there is a credible case that he did, then this matter should be referred to the Committee of Privileges. Those are the rules of the House. Let me quickly run through the facts to make sure that every Labour MP hears them. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister appointed Peter Mandelson before security vetting was granted in direct contravention of the advice given to him on the 11th of November 2024 by the then Cabinet Secretary. That is not due process. The Prime Minister's own National Security Advisor described the appointment and due diligence as weirdly rushed, and the Foreign Office weren't asked to feed in. That is not due process. The chair of the Labour Party has a lot to say, so I'm going to give way and let her say what it is that she wants to. Would you like to speak up? Yes.
The Cabinet Secretary said that it was due process.
Mr. Speaker, I think we have, Mr. Speaker, I think we have another minister who has just come to the dispatch box and said something that is quite different. Simon Case, the then Cabinet Secretary, has set out what the full due process was. A note from the Cabinet Minister a year after the appointment, after Peter Mandelson had been sacked, after I asked questions at the dispatch box, is not an exoneration, it is part of the cover-up. Mr. Speaker, we have been told by Sir Ollie Robbins, that the former Permanent Secretary of the Foreign Office, that the government showed a dismissive attitude to vetting and even argued that Peter Mandelson did not need any vetting. That is not due process. I'll give way in a moment. We have been told that Number 10 put constant pressure on the Foreign Office to approve the application. That is not due process. Sir Philip Barton, the former Permanent Secretary of the Foreign Office, said he was, and I quote, presented with a decision that there was no space for dialogue. That's Philip Barton this morning. He also confirmed that the normal order is vetting and then announcement. But in this case, the announcement was before the vetting. That is not due process. I'll give way to the honourable gentleman.
What you've just witnessed is more than a political clash. It's a moment that cuts to the heart of public trust. When leaders are challenged so directly, it resonates far beyond the walls of Parliament. For millions watching, this isn't about party politics. It's about honesty, responsibility, and whether those in power truly stand by their words. You could feel the intensity in that chamber, the frustration, the disbelief, the sense that something bigger is unfolding. And that's why debates like this matter. They reflect the concerns people carry every day, the feeling that decisions are made behind closed doors, and the demand that someone finally answers for them. As the vote approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will this lead to real accountability, or will it deepen the divide even further? One thing is certain, this story is far from over, and the consequences could shape the political landscape for months to come. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free, and it helps us continue bringing you the stories that truly matter.